guys, HitoriFX here. Welcome to the 5th episode of the weekly market outlook with TRADEXPROP. Now, in this episode, I'll be covering the dollar index, gold, and the US500. So, if you have any other pairs or asset classes you would like me to cover, do drop a comment down below or join our Discord channel and ping me there. Alright, now without further delay, let's get straight into the video. So here we have the DXY on the monthly chart, right? So I always go from monthly to weekly to daily. So now let's start on the monthly chart right here. So currently we have this external range, right, from this swing high to this swing low. This is that large displacement move downwards. So this is where you would draw your range to look at your premium and discount. So as of now, we have this internal range right here that it looks like we are going to violate to make a new range, and reason being that we have this internal swing high and this internal swing low right here, and we had this bearish monthly fair value gap, right? So we were expecting price to kind of come to it and then displace lower from it. However, last month we saw price violate it with a lot of conviction, right? So we have a large body close above this level, and in this month we saw price open here on the monthly candle. Price opened here, came down to it, and is now retracing away, leaving that lower wick. So we don't really have much of an upper wick as of now. So for my predictions, I'm expecting the DXY to shift bullish from here all the way into the monthly swing high right here, and also into the premium pricing of the current monthly range, deeper into this current monthly fair value gap, right? So we might see some reactions after we take this out right here. So that's just a forecast, right? But just overall bullish for the month. We might come up close to it, but I'm expecting this to be our monthly draw on liquidity as of now, right? So we paired that idea on the monthly, right? We expect a open low high close month, which is a bullish month. We use that to kind of go down into the lower time frames, like the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour time frames, right, to see if they align in the price action, right? So coming lower into the weekly right here, let's see if we align with our bias that we are going to see a bullish monthly candle, right? So here we have the weekly. Once again, draw out your current range, right? We had this swing high, swing low, and this is the obvious swing low that displaced and took out this swing high right here, forming our current weekly range. Okay, so as of now, right, we have this weekly buy side, which is my current near-term target, but we also have this low resistance liquidity run right here, right? This relatively equal highs sitting on top here, which is my further targets for the weekly time frame, right? So as of now, we tried to see a push higher last week. If you recall, I estimated that we could respect this weekly fair value gap right here, and we could see price continue higher. However, we didn't get that, and instead we have a inside candle, right? This inside candle, however, does make this a swing low, because here we have a low and then a low here on each side, and this low is lower than both of these lows, making this a swing low. The issue with this formation is that now we have a, so this is wrong, this is a weekly bearish redelivered rebalanced right here, and RDRB, right, from this candle's close to this candle's high. We saw price break down, this candle displaced through this, and then we have a wick that doesn't coincide with this close. So this is your weekly RDRB, and this is a bearish weekly RDRB. So if you recall, on the monthly, I was expecting a move higher, but this is looking like it might form a barrier, right, for me to see higher prices. So for next week, I'm expecting price to still go higher. For now, this is still my draw on liquidity right? However, we may find some resistance here. We may come up and then range here and consolidate before pushing higher and then coming down to use this as support to go higher. So as of now, next week I want to see how we react within this weekly RDRB, right? So it may take a few weeks for us before we can push higher into our bullish draw on liquidity, right? So that is the weekly chart. Now let's go on the daily for more information to see if it aligns with the weekly or the monthly chart, right? So here we have the DXY daily right on top here, right? First, let's just go through our leading range, right? We have this swing low to this swing high, making this that impulsive move higher, breaking this high, right? And if you notice the ranges here, they are kind of different from the weekly because price action is a bit different, but the idea of choosing your correct leading range applies across all time frames, right? If we go on to the weekly, you can see that we didn't really tap into the 50% or the discounted pricing for price to go higher. However, dropping down onto the daily, we did have that, right? We did have this swing low, swing high, 50% of that range. Price did come down, tap it to go higher, right? So as of now, my long-term targets are still reaching for higher prices. However, it is kind of hard to decipher based on the weekly and daily because we are caught in a really bad area, right? So we had this daily fair value gap that I was expecting price to push higher earlier in the month, or at least previous month, like in April. I expected this to be the catalyst to push price higher to take out this weekly buy side. However, we didn't get that, and instead we made equal highs, right? So here you can see the high is 166 and this high is 169, which is really equal, right? So we didn't take it out, and instead we displaced lower through this daily fair value gap. And now it seems like for last week we came up to it and then we are respecting it, forming a daily bearish inversion fair value gap, right? So looking like on the daily and weekly, right, we are looking for price to come down lower into maybe the weekly discounted pricing, right? It's just that I'm still expecting bullish prices based on how the monthly candle was, right? So this entire move right here, you could see it as the monthly candle making that lower wick before pushing price higher. And if you look at it, it does kind of seem like a classic accumulation, manipulation, and a potential distribution to go higher into these prices, because prior to this move downwards, there really wasn't a strong taking of orders to the upside before displacing lower. So which is why I'm still expecting higher prices, even though price action may be a bit misaligned as of now. That's why you always have to follow your higher time frame bias, right? You don't want to be lost in your daily or 4-hour bias without considering things like the weekly, the monthly, if you want to be on track and take high probability trades, right? So as of now on the DXY, still expecting higher prices, following the expectation that the monthly will make a open low high close, right? So that is the price action for DXY. Let's look at the econ part of it, right? So we have the calendar here from Forex Factory, right? This time is actually in Malaysian time, so it's UTC 8. If you want to follow the New York time, just follow UTC -4. So this is 8:30 p.m. So this will be 8:30 a.m. news in New York local time. So do switch that over if you have problems reading this. So here we can see Monday we don't have any news. So Monday may be a rangy or a consolidated range, right? So not there. There's no price news that might push price higher or lower, so likely we're going to see a small range day. However, Tuesday we have PPI, right? So core PPI is at 8:30 a.m. New York local time, right? And then we also have Fed Chair Powell speak. So Tuesday is likely to be a big move, right? So if I'm expecting a bullish week, we could see some form of a manipulation towards the downside to form that lower wick before continuing higher, right? So Tuesday we have PPI, Wednesday we have CPI and retail sales. So we could see Tuesday come lower and then Wednesday be that displacement higher alongside Thursday's unemployment claims, right? So we could see Monday range, Tuesday the manipulation, Wednesday, Thursday the displacement, and then Friday might be a return back into that range because we have no high impact news on Friday, right? So as of now, that is my expectations on the DXY. Let's take a look at gold. Alright, so let's go on to the monthly chart real quick. So here on gold, I'm still bullish on it, right? So I did expect a monthly reaction from this this monthly chart right here, right? We are caught within this swing low and swing high. This forms our current monthly dealing range, right? So the thing about gold is that you could expect a move pulling back into discounted pricing before a move higher. However, with these commodities, once they trend, they rarely pull back, and if they do pull back, it's going to be in really small legs, right? So it's not going to be a huge pullback into discounted pricing all the time, which is why I didn't expect price to come back into the discount of this dealing range, right? So I expected the monthly to open, come from the lower wick, come up to this midpoint of this long monthly wick before continuing lower and then pushing higher. So that was my expectations for the monthly, and overall still bullish on this time frame, right? Still bullish on this asset, especially on the monthly. I don't see any reasons why we should be even considering that we would turn bearish from here, right? If anything, a bearish move for me is just going to be a return back into maybe this liquidity void right here, right? Coming back here and then coming higher. But as of now, just nothing is signaling to me that we're going to turn bearish from here, right? So that is the monthly. Let's take a look at the weekly. So on the weekly, things are a bit more clearer, and I prefer this time frame over the monthly because the monthly is just many months of bullish expensive candles, not really giving us any form of price action to play with. But on the weekly, here we have a lot more of a clearer picture, right? So bullish on the monthly and bullish on this time frame as well, right? Dealing range is from this swing low to this swing high. This is that midpoint, right? And remember, I'm not expecting price to come low into this discounted pricing because gold as a commodity trends very heavily, right? It barely pulls back. It's not a currency, it is a commodity, right? So with this previous week, I was expecting our draw liquidity to be this previous week's high, and you can see we did take that, right? So the reason why I expected higher prices from here was we failed to displace below the weekly low of the 23rd of April, right? We wicked below it and then we pulled back, also closing kind of above this weekly FVG's opening, right? So this candle, I expected a bullish candle and we did get that. So from this, if you didn't want to take any risk and you wanted to wait for more information, you could have set this week out. But now that we have this information, we can kind of see that it's fairly obvious where price is going to reach for, right? It's likely going to reach for this current all-time high to make a new time high right here, right? Based on this swing formation, right? This swing low and these two lows are above it, so we are likely to displace higher into this current all-time highs, right? So as of next week, my drawn liquidity is going to be here, but we do have some nearer levels like this high right here, this high, all of these are untapped buy side liquidity, right? So if you can draw a trend line right here that kind of lines them all up, this is going to be an untapped LR on like the daily or the 4-hour, right? This is going to be that buy side liquidity pool that you can target, right? So bullish on this time frame as well. Let's go on to the daily, right? So bullish on the monthly, bullish on the weekly. What can we see from the daily, right? So this is the current dealing range, right? Swing low, swing high, large expensive move up, nothing much down here, and nothing much, and this is all just internal ranges right here, right? And if you can see, for the past few weeks, actually, we've been really rangy and just not going anywhere, right? We're just coming down long wicks and just caught within a big internal range right here, right? So previously we did have this FVG marked out right here, but I decided to remove it because it would clutter out the charts, and technically we have already filled it all the way here, right? So I'm just going to remove that. So for next week, right, I want to see price make a open low high close week. So I want to see where price could potentially find support from to go higher, right? And I know we did respect this daily fair value gap right here, right? We have closed beneath it. However, following the price action of the weekly and the monthly, I don't see any reason why we should be expecting a big move lower, right? If anything, this would just be a pullback to come lower before moving higher, right? So for next week, we could come up, find resistance around this weak CE right here, right? Or we do have this liquidity void, right? So from this high to this close, we have a liquidity void, right? So here we have some rebalancing we could be doing, so price could come down into the midpoint of that void right here before continuing higher, leaving a breakaway gap, or we could form a fair value gap, which price can also trade off of to go higher, right? Because as we saw, based on the news right here, we don't have anything on Monday, so we expect a rangy Monday, which we could see a bullish fair value gap form, and then we could use that to continue going higher as of now, right? So for next week, my nearest drawn liquidity is the previous week's high, because we do have this daily RB right here, this big wick, this rejection block, and that could form as a short-term resistance for price to kind of range around here, right? But ultimately, my longer-term targets are current all-time highs, right? So pulling up the econ calendar again, you could see Monday range, Tuesday push lower, right? And then Wednesday, Thursday expand higher before Friday closing back into that weekly range, or as ICT likes to call it, the TGIF setup, right? So that is my forecast for gold. Let's look at the US500, right? Which is technically the US500 as well, right? Just with a different name because it is just tracking the same index. So here on the monthly, we have our current dealing range, swing low, swing high. This swing low is important because it was the big low before that large impulsive move higher, taking out this previous all-time high make on January of 2022. So this is our current monthly range, and as of now we are working within a monthly bullish fair value gap, right? So previous month we came into it, we filled it completely right here, and we are seeing a reaction higher, right? So from this reaction now, we are kind of coming into the middle of the month. We are likely to see price continue pushing higher into this monthly ERL, which is also the current all-time highs, before thinking of a rejection lower on the low time frames, right? So here I think it's blatantly obvious that we could see a push higher into it, and I did kind of note that before May started, we could have seen a move lower into this week right here, right? However, we didn't really get that, and we just straight up pushed higher from here, right? So that was the only thing that really deviated from my expectations, right? I did expect a retracement lower, but we didn't get that. That's fine, right? Because the direction is still bullish and we're still correct. It's just that it happened a bit too quick for me, right? So that is my monthly on the US500. Now dropping onto the weekly chart, right? The buy is still the same, drawn liquidity still the same, right? We want to see all-time highs being breached right here. So previously I did expect us to take out this equal low right here, right? This set of equal lows, but we didn't get that, and we just straight up saw 3 weeks of bullish movement on the S&P. So as of now, we are violating this weekly bearish RDRB right here. We close above it with quite a strong conviction. So for next week, I am expecting price to form a open low high close week as well, which might seem a bit contradicting, because if the dollar index is going higher, the S&P should also come lower, right? Because they do have a negative correlation. However, their correlation is kind of weak. It's not as strong as things like the pound against the dollar, or the CAD against the dollar, things like that. So their correlation is relatively weak. It's not as direct as most would assume. So I am bullish on the dollar index, but I'm also bullish on the US500, right? So for next week, I want to see maybe a drive higher into current all-time highs, because we're quite close to it, right? So we could see a push move higher to take this out next week, and I will probably wait and sit on my hands to see what happens after we do take it, right? So for the next week, we could see price make open low high close, right? We have this weekly RDRB that could be used as a support to go higher, and we also have this this void right here from this candle's high to this candle's close. We do have this void that we could fill right here before continuing higher, right? I'm not expecting price to come down into this weekly fair value gap right here, even though I did draw it out for you to keep on your charts, but I'm not expecting price to kind of come down lower here, because the S&P 500 also trends very heavily, as you can see right here, and I don't want to see a move lower since we are so close to the current all-time highs. So that's the weekly. Let's go on to the daily, right? So weekly, expecting open low high close, and looking at how the daily traded, right? We have this current swing high, swing low, forming our current daily dealing range. So based on how last week traded, right, I did expect last week to kind of take out previous week's high without issue, and we did take that right here. So we took out previous week's high, and we saw an IOEFD, right, an institutional order flow entry due right here. We saw price come higher, right? So for next week, seeing as how Friday closed with a big doji respecting this daily RB right here, I'm expecting price to have a short-term retracement, maybe into this daily FEG right here, before continuing higher into this set of equal highs, right? See how this trend line, you can easily draw it out. This is going to be that really obvious buy side liquidity pool right here, right? So pulling up the econ calendar once again, right, seeing if it aligns, right? So let me just put it a bit smaller, right? So Monday range, Tuesday does the move lower, and then we could see a displacement for Wednesday and Thursday, right? So Monday accumulation, Tuesday or Wednesday manipulation, Thursday probably that displacement higher, right? Whichever happens first, we will play our cards from there, right? So just waiting to see how price trades, but now it's pretty much clear that we are all going to come up into this bullish strong liquidity, right, all the way from the dollar index to gold to S&P. I am surprisingly bullish on all three asset classes. So yeah, wow, that was a pretty long episode. This probably went on longer than usual, so I won't keep you for too much. I hope this forecast has helped you navigate the markets. So if you have any other questions or concerns, do check out our website, right? We have all our social media stuff over there, or you can contact me on Instagram as well, right? I'll be happy to answer any of your questions, right? But until then, take care, stay safe, and protect your capital. Peace.